Sister Mari Veritas, it's so great to have you on our program. And I wanted to ask you at the beginning, I mean, there is a popular Catholic joke that only the Holy Spirit knows how many women religious orders are there in the world. So why in 1991, Cardinal John O'Connor of New York, who was historically a great bridge between the Vatican and New York, between the Vatican and the church in the United States, why did this great cardinal decide in 1991 we need another order?
No, thank you, Paulina. That's an awesome question and a gift to be with you. Yeah, it's such a beautiful mystery of God's providence and mercy, because Cardinal O'Connor really saw, he was involved in the pro-life movement for a long time and just saw a lot of people burning out, a lot of activism, and good people doing good things, but there was a lot of burnout. And he said, well, what's the response? Because their results weren't very effective, and he really prayed. With Mark chapter 9, when the disciples come down from the Mount of the Transfiguration and they see with Jesus, and then they see the other disciples, and the disciples say to him, like, Jesus, we weren't able to cast out this one demon from this little boy. Why not? And Jesus casts the demon out, and he says, this kind of demon can only be cast out by prayer and fasting. And so Cardinal O'Connor really saw this experience of abortion in the world, euthanasia, as this demon of contempt for human life that could only be cast out by prayer and fasting. And so he said, for the first time in our history of our world, people are being killed simply because they're alive, and women are being so wounded, and being lied to. And so he really saw that this time in history, the Holy Spirit was raising up his community to protect every human life, every person, which is really beautiful.
It was also his experience visiting a concentration camp in Dachau, here in Europe, in Germany, that led him to think life needs to be protected. How did it impact your charism, your vocation, and your philosophy of Sisters of Life?
No, thank you. That's a great question. So he visited Cardinal O'Connor when he was preparing to become the Archbishop for the military vicariate in the U.S. He went to Dachau for a retreat, and to pray for the people who had been killed there. And he said he put his hand into the semicircular red brick ovens where the bodies of the victims had been burned. And he said he felt the intermingled ashes of Jew, rabbi, and priest. And he was struck to the heart, and he cried out to God, good God, how can human beings do this to other human beings? And he made a promise in that moment to do everything in his power to protect the sacredness of human life. So that's what really led him into getting involved in the pro-life movement, and then ultimately which led him to receiving this grace to found our community.
You serve in the United States, you're in several cities in the US, you're in Toronto, in Canada. What do you do on a daily basis? What is the ministry of the Sisters of Life?
Yeah, so our main work is prayer. So we spend 4 hours a day in prayer, and then all of our other missions flow from that. So we have a variety of missions. One of our main missions is serving women who are pregnant and in crisis, and helping them to receive their own goodness and the beauty of their own hearts, and so and uphold them so that they can actually receive the gift of the child and be able to move forward in life. We also host retreats for men and women just to experience the life-changing love of Jesus. We do a lot of evangelization, so that's the mission I'm in. We do a lot of speaking across the world about human life and love, and the fact that you're good, you're sacred, your life matters. Because it's so easy to forget that in our world, right? There's so much darkness, so much noise, and we can start thinking that we're worthless, that we're not good, and that's just a lie. So we just really want to proclaim that truth to every human person. And then finally, we have a beautiful mission of hope and healing after abortion for women who have suffered after abortion, and they come to know the infinite mercy and love of Jesus. And I know divine mercy is lives in Poland, but there's no sin or darkness bigger than the mercy of Jesus. So yeah, such a gift to walk with them and be with them as they discover that.
Of course. I mean, in today's world, it's in the world that enshrines abortion to the French Constitution, and in a world that puts my body, my choice on the symbol of the French state, the Eiffel Tower. It's not easy to protect life in a world like that. And what does it take to convince women to choose life over death, to choose life for their child and not abortion? What is the most successful strategy of the Sisters of Life in that matter?
It's so interesting. I wouldn't even necessarily call it a strategy. We literally, when women come to us who are pregnant, they come in and we literally have a tea party. We have tea, we have cookies, we sit down and we just listen to her heart and let her kind of just share everything on her story. And there's no time frame. We just listen and listen and listen and listen. And then as we're listening, we reflect back to her what we're hearing. So not only her joys, her sorrows, her hopes, her dreams, but also her goodness and the beauty of her heart. So we're literally kind of acting as a mirror to hold back to her the reflection of her goodness. And it's amazing, once she experiences that she is good and that she is beautiful, there's like this hope that happens in her heart. And it's not something like, we're not trying to win an argument, we're not trying to convince her, it's literally holding back to her this reflection of her goodness, and that actually unlocks her heart to receive the goodness of her child. So it's basically, we always say you can listen someone into life. And so we actually have this beautiful, if you're interested, beautiful video series we put out with Notre Dame University of how to do exactly this, how to walk with a woman in crisis. So it's called Into Life. It can be found at intolifeseries.com.
Well, certainly there's a great tip for our viewers to watch those little productions when they speak or understand English. But Sister Mari Veritas, is there a particular story that you remember well from, let's say, a tea party or an encounter with a woman that was pregnant and where she decided on life after talking to one of your sisters? Would you like to share a story like that? Do you have a personal story like that, or one of your sisters?
Yeah, I mean, there are many. That's a hard question because there's so many stories. I'm thinking of one actually that one beautiful story, just actually of a woman who experienced. So we met with her. She was vulnerable and she chose life. But she would always say, "I would never tell another woman what to do." She was very spicy. She's from the Bronx. And she gives permission to share this story. But she said one day she was on the elevator for her doctor's appointment and she met another woman on the elevator. And the woman got on and Raquel, our woman, said hello and said, "How are you?" And this woman just burst out crying and she said, "I'm pregnant. I'm pregnant and I can't do it right now. It's not the time. I'm gonna have an abortion." And Raquel, she said, "Oh, well, no, you're not gonna have an abortion. You're gonna have a girl, And she goes, "Here," and took the woman's hand. She goes, "Look, feel." And she put the woman's hand on her belly. And at that moment, Raquel's baby kicked her. And the woman said, "Whoa." And Raquel said, "Yeah, he's going to be strong and he's going to be blessed." And the woman said, "Why? Why is he going to be blessed?" And she said, "Well, if you're here, you're blessed. Whether you laugh or cry, if you're here, you're blessed. And my baby's strong. He's going to be a linebacker. I wanted a girl, but I'm going to have a boy. But you have a girl. You have a girl. Dress her up in pink and put pigtails in her hair and name her Raquel after me. And by the way, my middle name is Jasmine. And the woman laughed, and they both laughed, and they got off the elevator together, and they actually went to Raquel's doctor. And we asked Raquel, like, "Did you ever see this woman again?" And she said, "No, not till 2 years later." She said, "I didn't see her until 2 years later at the same hospital." And she ran up to me with a double stroller. She had twins, two girls, and they were all dressed up in pink and wearing ponytails, just like she told her. And their names were Raquel and Jasmine. And the woman ran up to her and said, "Raquel, I love you, I love you, I love you. I'll never forget your name or your face. You have no idea how much I love you." And Raquel said, "I understand. I've experienced it." So just the power actually of loving and receiving another person is so powerful.
Sister Mary Veritas, this is an amazing story, and I must say I have goosebumps and tears are flowing to my eyes. Um, but I also, thinking of this lady that had Raquel and Jasmine, oftentimes parents expect children who are sick, who would be disabled after birth. And not only is that they don't want to carry the cross, this will be too hard for them, but sometimes they don't want the child to carry the cross of sickness, of being disabled. What do you tell them? How do you approach those parents in your conversations, in your order?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. We have a lot of meetings with parents who have adverse prenatal diagnosis, right, where the baby's sick in some way. And there's a lot of fear, and there's actually a lot of pressure from the medical community to abort. They say, oh, their child's gonna be sick, no, not worth living, just abort. And there's a lot of fear. So it's hard for those parents because they're being pummeled from all sides. So I would just say to actually to not be afraid, and we have many doctors that we work with who deal with high risk pregnancies. They're specialists and they're really, really beautiful. And just to know, like, every person has such value and such worth. This little baby, maybe he or she is disabled, maybe he or she won't live very long after birth, but the Lord wants them, has desired them from all eternity to be, and has given them as a gift to you, to these parents, that to communicate his profound love. And we walk with so many people who heroically, choose life, and maybe they can only hold their child for a couple hours, or maybe their child has a disability for life. But it's amazing hearing their testimony, how they went from a place of profound fear to just this place of complete love, and how this baby actually changed their life. And even those who've only held their baby for a couple hours, because no life is worthless, right? Every life has profound meaning. And our worth isn't defined by our capacity or what we can do or produce or achieve. Our worth is in the fact we're made in God's image, and he loves you. He loved you into life. And so I just encourage parents, in those situations, to not be afraid, to reach out, and reach out to us too. We, sistersoflife.org, we serve people across the nation and the world. So if you're in Poland, you can reach out to us in America, and we can connect you with doctors to talk to you about your baby. So to not be afraid, and to know you're not alone.
Well, you mentioned Poland. You come often to Poland as Sisters of Life. You have regular, annual, at least, pilgrimages to our country. What do you search for in Poland?
Yeah, well, I would say Poland is a very special country. I think it's a country very close to the heart of God. And in a way, I feel like uh, there's like a recapitulation of his death and resurrection in Poland, and the mysteries of what your country has suffered and also risen from. So I think we partner with Focus, the Fellowship of Catholic University Students in the US, and we bring a pilgrimage of girls to Poland to visit these sacred sites of, Częstochowa, Niepokalana, everywhere in Krakow that John Paul II was, the Divine Mercy Shrine, Auschwitz, Calvaria, like all these really holy places, and these places of great saints who really walked. And I think Poland is such a microcosm and an expression of the truth of the dignity of the human person and the beauty of every human life, and that it's worth fighting for. It's worth fighting for. And so I just really want to encourage you, everyone who's listening, but like you have a very, very special country that I think the Lord has chosen to be a particular light for the world, and especially expressed through the divine mercy. So we just love the girls to experience that, to experience the faith of the Polish people, to experience his mercy there, and also the truth of their own goodness, which is so beautifully lived out in the lives of the saints.
Well, thank you, Sister Mary Veritas. It's certainly really nice to hear. Thank you for your very kind words about our country, which lift us up, of course, because also, as any church, we have many challenges, including, how the pro-life movement is functioning, how it's being in operations. And what advice would you give? I mean, also the question leads to do you seek professional training, or is it only your vocation that makes you do what you do for the pro-life cause in the United States, or is it also a professional training?
Yeah, great question. So each of our sisters, like, we have a college degree before we enter, so there's a variety of degrees and things. So there's a lot of life experience in that way. But in terms of training, it's kind of through living the life. And then we have, again, like our training that we give to our coworkers about how to walk with a woman who's pregnant and in crisis. We have training like that. Also, we have some friends who are kind of professional listening coaches, so they train us in that. And a lot of it is just through experience, and a lot of it's just loving. Like, there's not a program, or like it's literally loving each woman one heart at a time. And so it's very personalized care. So it's, you learn every meeting you have, and you grow every meeting. So it's very in real time, on the ground, learning and training. Mm-hmm.
Sister, you also meet a lot with university students. That's also a part of your vocation, as you said, to enter with the religious life into the world that doesn't know religious life very well. And how do they receive you? How do they react to the fact that you chose obedience, you chose chastity, you chose living in a modest location? All those things that seem so foreign to today's world. How do you explain it, and how do they receive you?
I think it's just, I mean, it's all about love, really. So why am I a sister? Why do I, wear a veil? Why? It's because I'm married to Jesus, I'm his bride, and I fell in love. That's really why. Love is the only reason to become a sister, or to become a priest or to get married, right? It's falling in love. So that's really the answer. And the heart of every college student wants to be in love. They want to know they belong, that they're important, that they're chosen, that their life has meaning and value, that they're worthy, that love is for them, And so I think when we talk to college students, it's to really help them to know that and to reflect back to them their own goodness, and to help speak truth into the lies that the culture is telling them. But really, I think most of all, it's like someone knows when they're loved and they experience that love, and that can change a life, actually. And when they experience that you are for them 100%, it's life changing. So I just encourage, everyone just to like love each other. And obviously it's so simple, but there's a power to that cannot be underestimated. And so even when you speak truth, but always to speak truth in love and with mercy.
And is there a reason why Sisters of Life chose blue and white for your outfit, for your habit?
Our founder, Cardinal Connor, actually designed our habit, which we're so grateful for, because our first design that the sisters had done wasn't as good. So he redesigned it. It was much nicer. But the blue is for Our Lady, and then the white is to remind us of our baptism. And then he always wanted us to wear a white veil, even when we're professionally professed, because he said we're always learning. In a sense, we're always like novices. We're always learning. We're always learning. So that's why, which is really beautiful.
Those who protect life also face a lot of spiritual struggle. I mean, you do on a daily basis what pleases God a lot, but not necessarily pleases those who are against God or against life. How do you deal with it on a daily basis? I'm sure you struggle with it a lot.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. I guess just power of prayer, to really lean into prayer and the Eucharist. I mean, our Eucharistic prayer is the source of our entire life. So without him, we can do nothing, and so to really allow him to be Lord in our life and to carry us and to trust him in every way, to do everything. And then also to lean into community, because community is a fortress that the devil can't touch. So to really lean into communion and let that communion feed our prayer life, but also feed our mission. And then also just finally, and I probably should go, but just finally also just to praise. One of our priest friends says that praise makes you slippery to the devil. So actually, the more we just can praise the Lord, it's such a powerful way of praying. So I just would encourage all those things. So.
Sister Mary Veritas, I know the Sisters of Life are always on the go, always rushing, but please tell us, if we still have time, where did you find your own vocation?
I felt called when I was younger, but I pushed God's call away for like 10 years. I was like, no, 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 no. It kept coming up. I kept being like, no. And I really fell in love with Jesus in a new way during college. And the call kept getting stronger, kept saying no. But eventually I just had this grace to just say yes and to surrender. And I had this peace and this joy I had never experienced before. And I felt more myself than I had ever felt before. And so my friend went to World Youth Day in Australia in 2008, and she met the Sisters of Life there. And she came back and told me, and I hadn't told anyone I was even thinking about religious life. It was top secret. She came back and told me, she said, "Oh, I met these sisters, the Sisters of Life. I can totally see you as one of them." And I was like, who does she think she is? I was like so offended. And then I was like, whatever. And then I looked them up and it was like, oh my gosh, this is my heart. I couldn't believe this community existed and this charism of life existed. And the Lord really was just very clear in calling me to this community. So I entered right after I finished university, which was such a gift.
And why did you choose your name?
It's because in my life, I really so Marie Veritas, Marie is for Our Lady. And then Veritas means truth, and the truth sets you free. And that was what I experienced so profoundly in my life and continue to experience, that the truth is a person and his name is Jesus, and he sets us free. He set me free. So it's very dear to my heart. Yeah.
Are you hoping for Polish vocations in your order?
We have two sisters who are Polish, which is beautiful. And so, but yes, I mean, whoever God calls, that's who we want. So whoever the Lord calls. But we have a deep love for Poland as a community. So such a gift.
So at the end, I'll ask you, what is the most hilarious question you got asked as a religious sister?
That's a good question. You know, it's a good question. We usually get a lot of questions when we go to visit schools from little kids. And I'm trying to think of one. Like often it's just like, why do you wear that thing on your head? Or like, are you Mary? Or like we had one girl look at us and say, look, unicorns, so we just hear fun things.
And what do you wish for the future, for your vocation, for your order, and for yourself, Sister Mary Veritas?
I just pray that we can keep listening to the Lord's voice and be faithful to his call. And I just pray for us, but for the whole church in the world, like a new Pentecost, a new unleashing of the gifts and fruits of the Holy Spirit in a powerful way. So that's my prayer is. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Sister Mary Veritas, for this conversation. And I'll certainly tell you that we'll pray for you and your sisters. You're doing an amazing job.
Thank you so much, Pauline. I'm so grateful. Great to talk to you.